What's up, everyone? Welcome to season 4 of My Boulevard podcast. This season, we're doing something special. I am here with my co-host, Missie. Say what's up to the people, Missie.
Hello, I'm so excited to join you, Dhati. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to talk about the who, what, when, where, how, and why of urban missions.
That's right. This season, we are going to be walking through together, like live, real conversations. We're going to be talking about real questions, really practical wisdom about how to do ministry in urban environments.
Yeah, this is going to be a primer for all of us. So let's join this journey. Let's grow, learn, and push forward urban missions together.
Stay tuned. This season, we're going to talk about how you can do ministry where you live, where you work, and where you worship. So let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome to This Is My Boulevard podcast. My name is Dhati Lewis.
And I'm Missie Branch.
All right, we are at the second stop, Missie.
Yes.
All right, about the stages of being an urban missionary. Mm-hmm. So stop 2, we are excited about, talking about this concept of holistic evangelism.
Yes.
Right? I think that this is important because this is the one that oftentimes gets people tripped up, right? Because, then you start, especially when we talk about, like proclaiming the gospel clearly and like being contextual when we're doing it. But then that's not the one, like, because some people get, up in arms about that. But then when we start talking about demonstrating,
yes,
right, the gospel, we're talking about meeting the brokenness of the
yes,
spiritual brokenness, the
yes,
emotional brokenness, the economic brokenness, right? The social brokenness.
And meeting that brokenness with clear proclamation of the gospel and seeing what the gospel can do as it meets that brokenness.
Yes. And I think that is oftentimes, you're preaching the social gospel, you're preaching this, and they all, so we start talking about all the different things. And I just think like it's really important. Like we firmly believe in Ephesians chapter 2, 8, 9, it's by grace that we are saved, that it's not of ourselves, it's a gift of God, not of works, so that no man could boast. However, it says, verse 10, we were saved for good works.
Yes.
Right? And so we are saved by grace, but we've been saved for good works. And so I think this is really important because, when you're ministering in the urban context, one of the things that you got to make sure that you are doing is that you are, creating a clear gospel demonstration of the kingdom. And what I love about it, Jesus never said, but he said he was preaching, teaching, and healing. Right. It's like we are the ones who bifurcate and begin to to do all of the stuff.
Yes. And we're so great at being theologians, but we are not always the greatest at showing up and being the hands and feet. So taking that theology and putting it to work in communities where social issues and justice issues and things like that are important.
Right, because ultimately what we're saying is that if there's God's design, sin enters into the world and it brings brokenness.
That's true.
And that brokenness is expressed spiritually with our separation between God and man, emotionally with all the angst, the anxiety, the frustration, like all the different things emotionally, brokenness that we have. Economically, and I'm not just talking about poor economics, I'm talking about your view of money. Right. How you view your money. Like we got rich people who are broken economically, poor people who are broken economically. Right?
Wall Street.
broken
economically. Yes.
Right. So you have all these things, but then socially, and we don't, we know we're broken.
It's just huge.
This is all over the place.
Huge,
brokenness.
Right.
Right. So the question becomes is how does the gospel help to restore, recover, and pursue? How does the person and work of Jesus help to recover and pursue that type of brokenness? Right.
Yes.
And that's really what we're talking about. When we're talking about like, we gotta, sometimes it's feeding.
Yes.
Sometimes
it's feeding people. Yes. It's showing up at elementary schools and middle schools. It's helping the coach of the football team at the local high school. Yeah. It's all kinds of things.
Variety of different things that we can talk about that. But that's, so we says we want to begin, Jesus began. And he says, proclaiming the good news.
Yes.
So we got to proclaim. There is an element of proclaiming. Do not email me. Do not email Missie, right? We believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ,
and that's
the
what
person
we're
and work of
talking
Jesus.
about. I think we forget that it's one thing to say, we understand the gospel, we've received the gospel, and it transformed my life. How does someone else know that your life has been transformed? Right. What are the tangible ways that a context, a community, a church, the people in your household know that your life has been changed by the gospel.
Yeah.
And part of that is through your proclamation and through the things you do in given
Your
contexts.
demonstration.
Yes.
You know,
Well, I already know that there are going to be some steps or some alliteration or some three-part something. So what are the steps? I know that.
you got proclamation.
Yes.
You got demonstration, right? And then you got discernment. See, you
So
know,
you got declaration. So we have to declare the kingdom
yep.
and we have to proclaim the gospel clearly and contextually.
Yep.
Okay. So the second one is
We got to demonstrate,
demonstrate,
right? We got to
right?
demonstrate. So we got to meet the spiritual,
So
emotional,
emotional,
economic, and
need.
social needs.
Yes. And
of
now
the
this
people.
third one is
We got to discern the
yes.
receptivity. And I think that that is a huge one because, you know, oftentimes everybody got to hustle, especially in the urban context,
Yes.
right? And you think about that
Isn't
everybody's
that the
got a
truth?
side hustle, everybody's got the angle.
It makes me think
right?
of Hustle Man,
you know,
right?
you know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
We got hustles.
Everybody
Yes.
got to hustle. So what part of this is it's like, you know, when you're going and you're proclaiming, I think even biblically, when he was being proclaiming, right, earlier, or even the announcement that Jesus was coming, there was some people who was like, oh man, like you had the three wise men like reoriented their
Yeah.
whole lives and pursued
Wow.
him.
Yes.
You had the, you know, Pharaoh or whoever, not Pharaoh, but you had Herod, who was
Yes.
like, I'm trying to kill, I'm gonna do everything to kill it.
Yes.
Right. But then you had a lot of people who's just like, I'm just gonna continue on and do my thing.
Yeah. It doesn't
Right? They just
impact
weren't-
me.
It doesn't impact me at
Yes.
all.
Wow.
Right. So in that, I think it's important that as we are like proclaiming the holistic understanding of the gospel, that we are discerning people's receptivity of the
Yes.
gospel.
And we're also focusing on where God is moving because we have to be aware that God is moving even in the brokenness. So if we can shed that spotlight, change that spotlight and shed light on those spaces, we begin to see where we can align the work that we're doing in line with other people.
Yeah. And so basically what we're saying is that the gospel proclamation includes both message and mercy.
Well, we got a guest
Yes.
joining us. And I love this pastor. This pastor is doing the work.
The work.
Yes.
Yes. And so let's bring him in. Let's
Yeah.
talk to him.
Let's talk to Pastor Dewayne.
Yes. All right. At this time, Missie, let's go ahead and bring in one of our missionaries, Dewayne Rembert. What's up, my man?
How
How
y'all
you
doing?
doing?
I'm good,
It-
brother. How y'all doing? And sister.
Doing good.
yes, man. Well, it's always excited to do it. Like we, as you know, we've been talking about kind of the 7 stops of an urban missionary, you know, and we're just interviewing some of our missionaries and being able to get a chance to get a glimpse into their lives. And so one of the things that this stop, you know, as you know, we're talking about the idea of holistic gospel proclamation, right? And in there, you know, we were talking about like doing it clearly, contextually. We were talking about how we do it spiritually, emotionally, economically, and socially, and attacking some of that brokenness, but then also discerning receptivity. Because you know, oftentimes you get the tracks, you get the people, but people are not just hearing some of the
Yeah.
things. So as an urban practitioner in your space, you know, like what are some ways that when you think about, you know, communicating the gospel clearly and contextually, what are some ways that you see that taking place?
Well, all right. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here. And you know, the area that we minister in as an urban missionary is in one of the, if not the most poverty-stricken, most neglected areas in our city. Right around our church is 11,594 people with the average household income ranging from $11,000 to $17,000 a year. So it's a food desert. So that's
Wow.
more things are caught than taught. So that's one of the main things that we try to do is meet the actual need of the people, so that we can proclaim the gospel to them. So every Sunday for the last 6 years, from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we do a hot fellowship meal at our church. We also have partnered with Publix and Walmart. So we twice a month we give out enough grocery for anybody who comes to our church that have food for at least a week. You know, and we do that we moved our service from 10 o'clock to 2:30 in the afternoon. We've been doing that for the last 6 years because it's a ghost town up until 12 o'clock. So they show up around 2:30. At first, they were just showing up at 4 o'clock just to get the food. But as we loving on them and sharing the gospel with them and inviting them back to our service, they come at 2:30 in the afternoon, hear the gospel, clear gospel, get saved. And some of them we've been able to bring out of their situations, So a lot of them are homeless. We every single Sunday for the last 6 years, we see at least one or two new faces that come in our church that are living in abandoned house and things like that. But we've been able to help them find some of the relatives, get their birth certificate, get their social security card, connect them with family members to get them out of that
Yeah,
situation. So that's one of the ways that we engage from
that's
that
good.
poverty level. And then also
That's good.
we're the first church in Alabama to host a legal clinic. We've been doing that now for 4.5 years. So every first and third Tuesday from 3 p.m. to 4:30, we have about 15 lawyers come to the church, offer free legal advice. We've been able to get over 150 records expunged to help people get acclimated back into life. Uh, we got partners with UPS, Genpack, FedEx, local business around us. We try to also identify the second chance organizations that will hire people who have things on their record that we weren't able to clear it up, but they've been with us for a while and they trust us enough to say, oh, hey, go ahead and give them an opportunity. We're able to do that. So those are just a couple ways. And
Yo,
we
I love
also,
that.
Wow.
I mean that's huge. I mean, I think that's exactly what we're talking about here. Because oftentimes, we were talking a little earlier about just this idea of brokenness, right?
Mhm.
And, and oftentimes we got to address the spiritual brokenness. Obviously, that's clear. Like we're not talking about any of those things gets you saved, but we got to be able to create a platform so that people can hear. Like there's so many obstacles, and
Yes.
so and what we're here. You're saying is that you're addressing both. We talked about the economic brokenness and then also some of the social brokennesses that are in your
yeah,
city so that you can be able to declare the gospel,
yeah,
proclaim the good news of it. Yeah. So I
yep,
think that's exciting to see. And I think that's one of the things that's important, especially as an urban missionary, as you talk about bringing, the holistic good news.
Yeah.
As urban missionaries, we know how important it is to make a lasting impact in our communities. But what if the key to multiplying leaders, the key to multiplying small groups, raising up a new generation of global leaders is already at your doorstep? That's where Churches of Welcome comes in. This national movement equips churches to welcome refugees and immigrants, embracing the global church that's emerging right in your own backyard, right in your own community, right on your own boulevard. You see, through robust discipleship, pastors and leaders are equipped to respond to the refugee and immigration crisis while building thriving churches here in America. This isn't just about resources, though. It's about developing a relationship with World Relief, walking alongside your church to create a community of welcome, and how you can multiply leaders by welcoming people around the world into your community. World Relief staff will walk with your church throughout the year to help you discover the right resource and the right response for your context. And just for My Boulevard community, you can use the code My Boulevard Welcomes to get 50% off the Churches of Welcome membership. Join this movement and learn how you can impact lives in your community and beyond. Visit churchesofwelcome.com to learn more. And remember, together, let's create spaces of welcome, healing, and hope for those who are most in need.
yeah.
Pastor Dewayne, I know you have to hear so many stories, and you must have so many stories of not only just the brokenness, but healing through all of the work that you all are doing. Can you
Mhm.
share something, one story of just what you have seen God do through a family, a person in your
Sure.
context?
Your husband actually met one of them. His name is Cecil. Like you said, I got hundreds.
Yeah.
But Cecil, uh, I don't think he mind me telling this because he want to share it at the church anyway. He was a stick up grown man. I ain't gonna say kid because he was a stick up grown man. And this how we met him, on our 4th year anniversary. Instead of having our service at the church, we closed our church down and we went into the neighborhood and set up a block party right next to the house that a person had just got their head decapitated because they stole from the cartel. So people were scared to come out into the community, and because of what happened. So we say, nah, the church gonna go. So we shut our doors down, put the address on the church, like instead of our 50th anniversary, meet us here. And in preparing for the block party, I ordered a porta potty, and the company accidentally delivered it to Cecil's house on the side of his house. So he had a big problem with that. And he was going off on the neighbor. So the neighbor asked me to come out and talk to him. And I remember him opening the door with two big Doberman dogs, and just was like, man, this ain't right, and blah, blah, blah. And we apologized. We moved it across the street. So that was like Thursday. And then Sunday, when we did the block party, we went and knocked on his door to invite him out to it. Right. And he was like, all his, whatever he had going on got canceled. Man, he ended up coming outside anyway, gave his heart to the Lord. That was 2 years ago. Gave his heart to the
Wow.
Lord. I remember I was with him when he called all his ops to say, look, man, I'm not scared of you or anything like that. And I'm just letting you know that I'm with Jesus now. So whatever beef we got, it's over. And right now, so he ended up getting saved. His daughter came to church and got saved. And now that the grandbaby shows up to a service, he helps us go
Wow.
out and serve in the community right now. I mean, he's almost about to become one of our leaders at the church
I
with a little
love
more
that.
discipleship and things like that. So he's just one of them, you know. And
Yeah.
his
Yes.
house was next door to the house that the guy got his head decapitated because
Oh my
he
gosh.
stole from the cartel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, but that's amazing. I mean, just to be able to hear that and hear the stories is kind of reminded that God is alive and active, and
Yeah.
he's working
Absolutely.
both in and through the people. So let me ask you this: what does it take for you to think and to consider yourself to be an urban missionary as you kind of interact with the Cecils of the world, the other people of the world? And is there a framework that you use or utilize that
Yeah,
you think about as you're
I do.
engaging?
Well, everything that I would have wanted from a church, I do it now. Cause I was that stick up kid. I was in the gang. I was selling crack cocaine.
Wow.
My mom was in and out of the street. There was no dad. All my uncles were on an abundance of alcohol, and the streets got me. By the time I was in the 8th grade, and and I saw the church pass me on the block to go to church. When I was in the trap out preachers and stuff were coming in there. So, one thing, there's a lot of things that I do. Integrity, and realness and authenticity is, real. And people only care about two things. Two things. One, do God love me? And two, do you love me? So I try to make sure I communicate those and meet the needs of the people because you have to investigate, you have to do your research, you have to get the data, find out what's the biggest need in your community because every community is different. So you have to have block parties and have community assessments. And then what we do is we take every time we do a block party, we have about 200 people show up. So we take those the results of those that data that we collect during our block parties, and we go back and we engage the actual needs of the people, so we won't be guessing and messing up. We won't come and try to tell them what they need. They tell us what they need. You know what I'm saying? So that's the formula that I use. I listen to the people and then I respond. I use my network as my net worth. So I have a
Yeah,
wide network.
absolutely.
So that's the approach.
Yeah, I
Otherwise, I
love
don't
that.
I don't
Yeah.
look at my budget. I've nothing in 6 years. I've never pulled anything out of our budget to do any type of outreach. We've
Yeah.
Wow.
fed, we've done, we've since August up until date, we've done over 35 pregame meals for our local schools, and all of that comes from just different partners and church partners and business partners that we've grown relationships over the years. So, as a planner, you gotta be well connected with your community in order to serve in these areas. If you're not, you're not gonna make it because your budget would
Right.
never meet the needs of what truly needs to happen in these type of spaces.
Yeah, and how did you use that word? You said network. Like,
My
what did you?
Oh
network
yeah, oh yeah,
determines my
yeah.
net
My
worth.
network is my net worth. So it's the people that I
That's
Hey,
know.
good. That's good. What I hear is that strategy is involved in the work of transformation and in the work of proclamation, that it's not just walk out the door and say something to whoever's around, but it sounds like even in the work of giving the gospel holistic evangelism, there's so much strategy involved. That's
Absolutely. Well,
beautiful.
And one of
well,
the
I, hey,
strategies that I heard him say,
yeah.
one of the
Well,
strategies,
I'm the church planting strategist for Montgomery County for the last 8 years with Montgomery Baptist
Awesome.
Association.
that's
Okay.
it too.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm a strategy
So,
guy, and I teach a cross cultural training across the state as well. So strategy is so key. First, your heart got to be right. You know what I'm saying? So strategy don't work if your heart hasn't been broken for your community. And only
Mm,
God could break your heart for your community. So you have to be honest with yourself. Why am I here? If you're here to
mm,
be rich and famous or gain some kind of financial gain, then I don't even want to give you a strategy. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
most of the time,
Right.
if I talk to you long enough, it'll come out.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so the first strategy is doing an assessment on your own heart and asking the Lord, has my heart been broken for this community? And then be honest with whatever answer the Holy Spirit tell you. If he tell you no, then ask for your heart to be broken. Because before, we actually launched the church. We got the building. It was given to us, by the way. We got the build 22,000 square foot feet.
Wow.
Yep,
man,
yep. And just in the
Wow.
last 6 months, we've had over $120,000 in renovation. Not one dime came from the church, right?
My
Um,
goodness.
but before we launched the church, I didn't kneel my four. While my wife was asleep, I would get up, ride in the community, ride out in the community in the morning time, late at night, and just l- like with my optics, look at what's going on and cry and pray. And
Wow.
God had me do that for about 6 months before we even did a service, because my
yeah,
heart had to be broken. And what's in my heart trickles down to the rest of the congregation. So if they see me serving, sacrificing, loving everybody like Jesus loved them, dying to myself, seeing everybody the way Jesus see them, because we're biased people. So we have to die to ourselves to see that person as an image bearer the way God see them. Then the rest of the leadership team would do the same as well. But if it's not in
yeah,
my heart is not broken, then the congregation, the team heart is not going to be broken. So I had to display that as a spiritual leader first, and God had to do a work in my heart. So
yeah,
Man.
when you get those calls where they only call you when they need something, because when you're in a community like that, as far as an urban missionary, you have to understand. Because I did this was me, like for years I hustled to survive. So it's not, if they're trying to hustle you, they don't know any better, so you can't fault them for that at the moment. That's how they've been eating and living. They just hustle, so you can't get in your feelings. You just gotta. I don't turn anyone down the first time. I'm gonna help everybody at least one time. And then after a while,
Wow.
if I see, okay, you taking advantage of this, but we don't have as a church, we don't get a right to say no the first time. You don't get to say
yeah,
no to a person that needs some food. You don't care. And we've had some of our food outreach, and people drive up in a Mercedes Benz. That ain't our business. You get them some food. You don't know what their situation is.
That's true.
So,
Wow.
mhm.
We are so grateful for your wisdom and for the work that you're doing. It's so impactful and even helps lay out a blueprint for so many people who are in the process of building what they have going on right now. So we're grateful that you're one of our missionaries, that we're able to
Amen.
serve you as you serve others.
Yes,
yeah.
man. Thank you.
Man, we have to go ahead and close it out, but I really do appreciate, you jumping on and giving us this, both principles and practices on
Absolutely.
how you engage. So blessings to you, brother.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank y'all.
Woo! You talk about gospel proclamation.
He is doing the work.
He's doing it. He's
He
doing it.
Yes, this is not about a social gospel, but this is how the gospel can impact
Yes.
socially, economically,
And
spiritually,
emotionally.
emotionally, all of it.
And this is what I love about him is that he is giving space so people can hear the
Yes.
gospel, right?
Yes. Mm,
They can hear the gospel
wow.
in a way, and he's giving space. And it's a thing I oftentimes talk about is this concept of hospitality, creating space. And I
Mhm.
think oftentimes when you are demonstrating right good works and good deeds,
Yes.
that allows people an ear to
Yep.
hear.
Yep.
And so, like, he kept saying it, and it was just like, and I wanted to kind of jump in, but he was going. I was just like,
Right.
go, go, go. But one of the things that I heard was this concept of seek to understand
Yes.
before trying to be understood. And I
Yes.
think oftentimes we go out
Yes.
and we proclaim the gospel without listening to the real needs that people have. And I think the New Testament shows the opposite. Paul would be like, man, Like, he would hear and he would proclaim the gospel message and then address the issue.
Yes.
Right? Address the issue that's at hand. So I think that stood out to me.
He also talks about making sure that people can authentically believe that they are loved by God and they are loved by you. And when I think about his story of Cecil, how Cecil really had to have been convinced that God loves him and that Pastor Dewayne loves him.
Yes.
And Cecil's life has been changed.
Yes. I mean, if you didn't know, this is PG-13 because
Right.
heads are getting cut off. And that
that
was sad.
I know.
It's sad.
First of all, yes, that's
But,
hugely.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's
I can't
real.
imagine living next door to that.
Yeah.
But just understanding that this is the community that you're serving, where those are the conversations you're actually having. Right. And yet he re-engages. Right. That didn't shut him down.
No, it didn't.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And the other thing that stood out to me was this idea that you got to take inventory of your own heart.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
Is your heart broken for these things?
Yeah.
Because if your heart's not broken for things, as soon as something like that happens, I'm out.
Oh, right. Gather my family and we're out. Yes. Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. I
yes.
think that was it. I mean, so that was just beautiful to me. It's just like this idea of, another thing he just says, like, he never turns a person away for the first time.
The first time, right.
But he says, but when you start trying to, take advantage,
if you work in the system,
let you just,
But I think what we learned from him is that all of this is not haphazard, that proclamation of the gospel comes with strategy, because Jesus operated with strategy, right? Jesus was not haphazard and willy-nilly. And so when we're recreating that in our own communities, Pastor Dewayne showed us, I come with strategy. I have a plan. There's a thing we're working towards, and there's a way we get there. And there's a way that we even involve the whole community. And we say, hey, these are the needs that need to be met here. How does this whole community come together to proclaim the gospel?
He said he's a strategist.
And I believe him.
And that's why I love
yes.
My Boulevard Urban Missionaries.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
So whether you are a poet, you are a pastor, you are a practitioner, or you are a polymath, right? These are the types of community that you get when you're part of the family.
Yes.
And just to be able to rub shoulders with brothers and sisters like him. Is
so inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pastor Dewayne. You are awesome.
So, another episode of This Is My Boulevard. You got a chance to see Dewayne, one of our missionaries, say, "This is my boulevard."